When we are traveling on the spiritual path, naturally we will encounter a lot of beauty, wisdom, peace, and joy. This is in some sense expected, and for some of us, it might even be the reason for why we even went on this path in the first place. So it often comes as a surprise when we notice that on the spiritual path, we don't just encounter all these beautiful states of mind. While it is true that, yes, at the end of the day, the spiritual path is supposed to free us from our psychological suffering, it is also true to say that along the spiritual path we will encounter many insights and gain understandings that might not be very comfortable to our body minds. Very often, especially when we start out on the spiritual path, we have this false assumption that one day we will recognize our true nature, this perfect simplicity which we are at our essence. And once we do, all of a sudden, all our troubles, all our neurotic fixations, all the difficult aspects of our mind will just vanish and disappear. In my view, however, this is a naive assumption, and it is one that is very quickly proven to be incorrect. There are, of course, many different views of how awakening can unfold, and I can certainly see validity in many different kinds of models. According to some views, for example, you first have to purify the body-mind. You have to get rid of every sign of ignorance in your behavior, in your actions, in your thoughts, in your feelings. Turn everything into an expression of wisdom. And if we do that, if we live in accordance with wisdom, we then can gain insight into our true nature and thus are liberated. This, however, is not the view that I like to take. Again, preferences may differ here, that is completely fine. But I much prefer getting to the goal of the spiritual path first and then working from there. What do I mean by that? I mean we should first recognize what our true nature is and then live from this recognition and then let this recognition completely transform the body-mind, thereby also transforming all of its thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and so on. And most people who are interested in non-dual philosophy and non-duality teachings would probably agree with me here and think that this is the path they prefer. Nevertheless, how this awakening after the recognition of our true nature then unfolds is viewed very differently for many people. As I said earlier, there is the, in my view, wrong assumption that this shift, this transformation of the body-mind will be instantaneous. But I think if we're honest with ourselves, when we just notice how the body-mind reacts after the recognition of our true nature, it doesn't all of a sudden become this perfect expression of wisdom. Not at all. We usually notice that in our day-to-day life, there are many instances where old behaviors, old emotions, old patterns of thinking are triggered. And furthermore, these patterns are not just necessarily triggered, but also are acted out, even after a clear recognition of what we really are. This might seem paradoxical to us. After all, how can these patterns still exist within the body-mind when it is seen clearly that there is no separate self, that there is only our true nature? There's only this crystal clear awareness. But I view this as completely natural. Let's use a simple analogy here. If you're driving your car and you step on the gas really hard, you will obviously accelerate a lot. Then, when you let go of the gas, it's not like your car instantly comes to a stop. The energy which was moving your car still persists in a sense, and the momentum your car had will continue to carry it forward for maybe even quite a long time. And the same is true for our body minds. Even when this neurotic energy of the separate self is disconnected from its source, when it's seen clearly that the separate self in fact is an illusion, that doesn't mean that automatically all the energies, all the patterns which were previously built up dissolve instantly. They can persist for days, for weeks, maybe even for months. I am, however, quite certain that eventually they do fade, they do change. And this is what's hard to grasp for many people who like the non-dual teachings. This is a process that takes time. Don't have false expectations of perfection about yourself. Just live in this recognition of your true nature. Be this unfixated openness, which you already are in your essence. And naturally, the transformation will take place. Over time, you will notice that your behavior changes, your thinking changes. The problematic feelings that once maybe dominated your entire life get weaker and maybe even disappear altogether. We don't have to force this to happen. It is a natural unfolding. Nevertheless, I do think if sometimes specific neurotic fixations continue to arise, it is worth exploring them in more depth, see why they persist, and see what kind of wrong beliefs and assumptions are at the core of these persisting patterns. To put it in a different way, it can sometimes make sense to massage out the specific knots and tensions in the body-mind in order to let it flow more in line with our true nature. Going into too much depth about how to do this would, in a sense, break the scope of this video though, so I will leave it at that for now. But in conclusion, what I'm pointing to here is that the body-mind is an instrument of our true nature, and our true nature will form it and shape it in its own time. If we look at how awareness unfolds in nature, it is slow and steady and persistent, but nevertheless expresses itself in the way that it wants to. And so too, we can rest easy in the certainty that true nature is all there is, and it will unfold according to its own internal wisdom. So just drop your fixations, be this openness, which you already are, and simply enjoy this unfolding. I hope you enjoyed this exploration of this particular spiritual paradox, which is often a point of frustration. If you enjoyed this and you want to support my work, check out the links in the description. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with my latest videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you right here next time.